What do you do when the only thing left of someone you loved is a horse that stares back like it knows your secrets? Sarah's boots sank into the frost-crusted snow, each step a muffled crack that echoed in her chest. The air bit sharp, carrying the faint rot of damp hay from the stable ahead. Wind whistled through the slats, low and lonely, like breath from an empty room. It was mid-December in Saratoga Springs, the kind of cold that seeped into bones and stayed, turning everything brittle. She hadn't come here by choice. Not really. The lawyer's call had been brief. Your brother's estate, the house, the land, and Sly. That name hung in her mind like a half-forgotten dream. Mark's horse. The one he'd ridden every dawn, whispering plans into its mane as if it could carry them forward. Now Mark was gone, taken by a skid on black ice last spring, and Sarah was left sifting through what remained. Her hands trembled as she pushed the stable door, not from the chill, but from the weight of it all. Inside, the dim light filtered through. Dust motes, casting long shadows across the stalls. Hay bales stacked uneven, a pitchfork leaning against the wall like it had been dropped mid-thought. She paused, breath visible in puffs, listening to the quiet shuffle from the far end. There it was. A soft snort, then the rhythmic thud of a hoof against straw. Sly. She hadn't seen him yet, but she felt him, the presence heavy, alive in a way. The empty house wasn't. Her throat tightened. What was she supposed to do with a horse? Sell him? Board him out? The thought twisted something inside her, sharp as the grief she kept buried. She moved closer, boots scraping on the concrete floor. The smell grew stronger. Earth and sweat, mixed with the metallic tang of winter feed. Sly's stall loomed, wooden bars worn smooth from years of leaning muzzles. She stopped short, heart thudding. Through the gaps, she caught a glimpse. Chestnut, coat dusted with frost, muscles rippling under skin as he shifted weight. His tail swished once, deliberate, like he sensed her hesitation. Sarah's fingers curled around the latch. Why did this feel like intruding? Mark had loved this animal, poured hours into grooming, training, those quiet rides along the pond's edge. She'd visited once, years back, watched from afar as her brother laughed, easy in the saddle. Now, standing here, she felt like a stranger in his world. The latch clicked open. Sly's head lifted, ears flicking forward then back, alert, but not startled. His eyes dark and liquid fixed on her. No whinny, no stamp, just that steady gaze, nostrils flaring slightly as he drew in her scent. Sarah froze, breath caught. He was bigger than she remembered, a quarter horse built for speed and strength, but there was a weariness in his stance. Legs planted wide like he carried more than his own weight. She stepped inside, careful, keeping distance. The straw crunched underfoot. Sly's breath came even, warm clouds in the cold air. She could see the rise and fall of his flanks, each one measured, as if he were deciding something about her. Her mind raced. Horses could sense fear, right? Or was that dogs? She swallowed, forcing her voice low. "Hey, boy, it's me." No response at first. Then, a subtle shift. His ears pricked toward her words, one swiveling like an antenna tuning in. Sarah's chest ached. Mark would know what to do. Approach slow, hand out, palm up. She mimicked it, arm extending tentative, fingers splayed. Sly's head lowered a fraction, nostrils working overtime. The air between them felt charged, thick, with unspoken things. He took a step, hoof sinking into straw with a soft thud. Sarah's pulse quickened. Not toward her, not yet, just adjusting, testing. She held still, watching the play of light on his coat, the faint scars from old scrapes, along his shoulder. Real horses weren't storybook creatures. They were instinct and muscle, wary of the unknown. Like her. Minutes stretched. The wind outside picked up, rattling the roof. Sly's tail flicked again, brushing flies that weren't there. Then, slowly, he extended his neck, muzzle inching closer. Sarah didn't move, didn't breathe. His breath warmed her palm first, hot, moist, then the velvet touch of his lips, brushing light as a question. Something cracked inside her. Not tears, not yet. Just a loosening, like ice giving way underfoot. She thought of Mark's laugh, how it'd fill this space. Sly snorted softly, pulling back, but his eyes stayed on her, unblinking. She lowered her hand, fingers tingling. Why did this feel familiar? Like he'd done this before, with someone else. Her brother. The thought stung. Raw. She turned, ready to leave, to lock this away with the rest of the grief. But as she stepped out, Sly moved. Hooves shifting. Body, turning to face the door, watching her go. Sarah paused in the doorway, glancing back. He stood there, head high, ears forward. Not following. Not yet. But something in his stance pulled at her. A silent tug. What was it he saw in her that made him look like that? The next morning dawned gray. Snow flurries dancing outside the kitchen window. Sarah sipped coffee, black and bitter, staring at the stable from the house. Sleep had been fitful, dreams of cracking ice and distant whinnies. Mark's voice echoing, "Take care of him, sis," as if he'd known. She bundled up, scarf tight against the wind. The pond lay frozen beyond the fields. A silver sheet under the clouds. Sly had grazed there with Mark, she remembered. Lazy summers. But now it was treacherous, thin in spots from the thaw and refreeze. Inside the stable, warmth greeted her, animal heat cutting the chill. Sly's stall was as she'd left it, but he was different, pacing slow circles, hooves dragging patterns in the straw, restless. His coat gleamed a bit more. Maybe the groom had come yesterday before she arrived. She approached quieter this time, no words. Just presence. Sly stopped, head turning sharp. Ears flicked, forward, back, forward. Nostrils flared wide. Sarah reached for the brush on the hook, bristles worn from use. Mark's brush. The strokes started tentative, along his withers. Sly tensed, muscles quivering under her touch. Then, a release. A long exhale, flanks relaxing. She kept going, rhythm building like a heartbeat. Dust rose in the light, hay scent thickening. Her mind wandered to Mark's stories. Sly bolting at thunder, but steady in a storm if you held the reins right. He leaned into the brush now, subtle pressure. Sarah's throat closed. It wasn't trust, not fully. But it was something. A give. Hours. Blurred. She led him out on a line, into the paddock. Snow crunched under them both. Sly's steps were deliberate, head low, sniffing the ground. The wind carried distant calls. Geese over the pond, maybe. He paused, ears perking toward the water. Sarah tugged gentle. Easy. He followed, but his gaze lingered. Like he remembered. Paths they'd taken before. Back in the stall, she offered a carrot from her pocket. Sly's lips curled soft, taking it careful, teeth grazing her skin without bite. Warmth spread in her chest, unbidden. She rested a hand on his forehead, tracing the white blaze there. Mark had called it his lucky star. Why did touching him feel like touching a piece of her brother? Days folded into one another, the cold deepening. Sarah found herself drawn back, mornings and evenings, feeding, grooming, just sitting on a bale while Sly munched hay. His behaviors emerged slow. The way he'd paw at the door if she was late, the soft nicker when she entered. Not loud, but there. One afternoon, clouds heavy with snow, she sat cross-legged in the straw. Sly stood over her, head dipped low. His breath ruffled her hair. She whispered fragments. About Mark's accident, the skid nobody saw coming, the funeral where she couldn't cry. Sly's ears swiveled, listening. Then, a nudge, muzzle to her shoulder, firm but gentle. He stayed close, body heat a barrier against the draft. Sarah's eyes burned. She didn't pull away. But as the sun dipped, casting long shadows, Sly grew agitated, pacing again, eyes on the door, toward the pond. She stood, brushing straw from her jeans. "What is it, boy?" He whinnied low, a rumble in his chest. Not fear, something else. Sarah glanced outside. The pond gleamed under fading light, ice cracking faint in the distance. She didn't know why, but when she grabbed her coat to check the fields, Sly pressed against the stall door, eyes locked on her, as if he wouldn't let her go alone. That night, the wind howled fiercer, whipping snow against the windows like accusations. Sarah lay awake, the house creaking around her, empty as Mark's absence. Sly's low whinny echoed in her mind, that insistent pull toward the pond. She told herself it was nothing. Horses got restless in storms. But deep down, a whisper nagged, "He knows something you don't." Morning broke brittle, the world blanketed white. Sarah pulled on boots, coat heavy with dread. The stable door groaned open, and there Sly stood, ears pinned flat, pacing tight circles in his stall. His coat was damp with sweat, flanks heaving. Not fear exactly, more like urgency, hooves scraping straw in rhythmic protest. She approached slow, hand out. "What is it?" Sly's head snapped up, eyes locking on hers. A snort, hot and forceful. Then he turned, facing the door, tail swishing sharp. Toward the fields. The pond. Sarah's stomach twisted. The ice had thinned yesterday. Cracked spiderwebbing from the edges. Mark had warned her once. Never trusted in a thaw. But Sly pressed. Against the gate now, muzzle pushing wood, a low rumble in his throat. She clipped the lead, hands fumbling. "All right, show me." They stepped out into the bite of wind, snow crunching under boots and hooves. Sly moved deliberate, head low, nostrils flaring at the ground. Not grazing, scenting. Sarah followed, breath short. The pond looming ahead like a frozen mirror, reflecting skeletal trees. Halfway across the field, Sly halted, ears forward, body rigid. A soft whinny escaped him, not loud, but piercing. Sarah scanned the white expanse. Nothing. Just wind scoured, ice edges softened by melt. Then she saw it. A dark patch near the center, water bubbling faint, and tracks, hoof prints, fresh, leading straight to it. Sly tugged the lead, insistent. Sarah's heart hammered. No, too dangerous, but he pulled harder, muscles bunching. Real horses didn't plead, they acted on instinct. This felt deeper, like memory driving him. She relented a step, then another. Snow giving way softer near the bank. The ice groaned underfoot. Sly stopped at the edge, head dipping low, breath steaming over the surface. His ears flicked back, forward, listening to something beneath. A crack split the air, sharp as a gunshot. Sarah froze. The dark patch widened, water surging up. And there, movement. A shape thrashing below. Sly. No. Wait. It was him? Her mind reeled. But he was here, solid beside her. Then realization crashed. He'd broken through earlier, alone in the night. Wandered out, drawn by old paths, and fallen in. Panic surged. The pond wasn't deep, but the cold was lethal. Sly, the real Sly, her Sly, had pulled himself partway out? No, he was trembling now, hooves planted wide, staring at the hole where he'd been. But how? Sarah's thoughts fractured. He'd escaped the stall? The latch. She'd forgotten to double-check last night. The ice buckled more. Sly whinnied, loud this time, a call that cut through wind. But he wasn't in. He was out. Wait. Her. Eyes adjusted. The thrashing was phantom memory? No. Bubbles rose. Something else? Clarity hit like ice water. Sly had fallen through before. Not today. Yesterday? No. The tracks were his, leading in, but none out. How was he here? She dropped the lead, scrambling closer. The edge crumbled under. Her knee, water-lapped cold, and there, submerged to his chest. No, it was him. But he stood beside her too? Illusion from fear? Adrenaline cleared it. Sly had broken through, but clawed his way back, coat iced over, standing now at the bank, shivering violent. The thrashing was residual, water settling. He'd saved himself? Barely. Sarah lunged, grabbing the lead that dangled loose. Come on! But Sly resisted, hooves slipping toward the hole. Not away. Toward. As if to show her the danger, the place where Mark had ridden him last, before the accident. The pond where they'd skated as kids, where grief pooled now. Her mind flashed Mark's letters, unread in the attic. One mentioned Sly bolting near water once, sensing thin ice before he did. Tension coiled tighter. Sarah pulled, voice breaking. "Please." Sly's ears flattened. He stepped back, slow, body quaking. But his eyes stayed on the water, as if daring it to take more. They made it to solid ground. Sarah collapsed against him, hands in his mane, feeling the chill seep from his coat. He stood still, breath ragged, but didn't pull away. That evening, in the stable, warmth returned slow. Sarah rubbed him down with blankets, hands aching from cold. Sly munched hay, but his gaze flicked to her often, ears swiveling at her sighs. She resisted the pull, telling herself it was coincidence. Horses didn't remember like that. But when she whispered Mark's name, testing, Sly's head lifted sharp, a soft snort escaping. Days blurred into weeks. Sly's behaviors sharpened, pausing at the tackroom door where Mark's saddle hung dusty, nudging her toward the pond path, then veering away last minute, as if warning. Sarah fought it, burying herself in chores, avoiding the attic boxes. But loneliness gnawed. Nights, she'd sit in the stall, back against wood, Sly's head resting near her knee. His breath synced with hers, slow and steady. She felt drawn, a thread tightening. One storm-lashed afternoon, wind rattling shutters, Sarah climbed the attic stairs. Dust motes danced in flashlight beam. Boxes labeled in Mark's scrawl. Memories. Tack. Sly. She pried one open. Photos spilled. Mark. On Sly, grinning wide, pond in background. Letters beneath, yellowed. One envelope. For Sarah, if anything happens. Her fingers trembled. She unfolded it. "Sis, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Sly's more than a horse. He saved me once, bolted from thin ice, kept me from falling through. He's got instincts like no other. Take him riding, let him carry you forward. Love, Mark." The words blurred. Grief rose choking, tears hot on cheeks. She crumpled, sobs racking silent. Sly, in the stable below, whinnied, sudden, loud and echoing up the stairs. Sarah stiffened. How did he know? She stumbled down, face streaked, the stable door ajar from wind. Sly stood at his stall, head over the gate, eyes soft. She approached, trembling. "He wrote about you." Sly's muzzle extended, lips brushing her hand. Not for treat, for contact. He stepped closer as she sank to the straw, body curling against his legs. His breath warmed her neck, slow exhales like reassurance. A gentle nudge to her shoulder, then stillness. He stayed, flanks rising steady, until her sobs eased to hiccups. The storm passed outside. Inside, something shifted. Sarah wiped her face, hand lingering on his blaze. Mark's lucky star. Weeks turned to months. Spring thawed the pond, grass pushing green. Sarah's steps lightened. Mornings with coffee on the porch, watching Sly graze. Peaceful. No more pacing. He moved easy, tail swishing content. She rode him one dawn, saddle creaking familiar. Sly's gait smooth, ears forward, carrying her along old paths. Grief lingered, but softer, like worn leather. One evening, clearing the tack room, Sarah found it. A carved wooden box under the saddle. Mark's initials. Inside, a photo, her and Mark as kids, by the pond, with a colt that looked like Sly's. "Sire, on back. Thanks for pulling me through, sis. Now let him do the same." She smiled through tears. Sly, from the field, whinnied soft. A thanks? Or just greeting? But in that moment she knew. He led her here, to this. Sometimes, healing comes on four hooves, whispering gratitude in the quiet between breaths. If this story touched you, subscribe. Leave a comment, follow, and press the bell icon to watch daily videos and enjoy the next one that just might change your heart.